This is how I do my pre-made corset when I want to attach it to a skirt that I've made to turn it into a dress. Okay, so I already have my skirt made. There's no zipper in the dress. And as of now, I do not have a stay stitch at the top either, but I will add one. I use the stay stitch to determine where the waistline is on my skirt with a seam allowance so that I can easily attach the corset to the skirt. Remove the skirt from your mannequin and take it over to the sewing machine. I have mine set at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. That is based on the pattern that I am using, and I'm going to run a straight stitch all the way across the top of my skirt. Now I have my corset here, and I am marking the center line for my corset. Also, make sure that your corset is as tight as it can be on the mannequin. The mannequin which I am using, thankfully, is the correct measurements of the client which I will be making this for. So right now I am marking out the waistline with a white chalk pencil, which can come off. It could be a little difficult to see, so further into the tutorial here, you'll see where I will put a basting stitch into the corset as well with the color red so that you can easily tell where the waistline is. So the goal is to mark out the waistline all the way around the corset, and you're going to use the line which you've marked out to match it to the stay stitch or the basting stitch that you have placed on the waistline of your skirt. So I'm using a piece of red thread and a needle, and I'm going to pull that thread all the way around the corset. You don't have to do this. I'm doing it for visual purposes so that you can easily see where the waistline is if it's difficult to see the white line where I chalked it out. I'm just going to take it all the way around the waistline of the corset. Make sure you mark the side seam on the corset on both sides, because you're going to line the side seam up with the side seam of the skirt. So I got the right side, now I'm doing the left side, and I have the center front marked as well. So side seam, and there's your center front. There's your other side seam. And we have the waistline here. Now we have the skirt. We're going to take your skirt and find the center point. The center point is easy to find once you have matched the side seams together. There's the side seams put together, and there's the center. You can mark it with a chalk pencil, or you can do it with a straight pen, whichever you prefer. Is your preference, is your project. It's not necessary to mark the side seam because, of course, the side seams are going to be where the front and the back of the skirt meet. But for demonstration purposes, I went ahead and did it. Once you found the center point of the skirt, you're going to match it up with the center front of the corset. I find it easier to turn the skirt around upside down and put right sides together. So you have your corset right side up facing upwards. You have your skirt facing downward, I guess. And you're going to match that center piece together and pin it right here in the center. Once you pin the center piece, you're going to take your side seam of the skirt and you're going to match it with your markings of where you put the side seam on the corset. This corset is a pre-made corset, so you'll see where I'm wrestling with it a little bit because it keeps folding up. Make sure that when you are putting the skirt onto the corset, you're not stretching out the fabric of the skirt. You're only pulling the corset taut. So it kind of looks like I'm stretching the skirt, but I'm not. I'm trying to make sure that the corset is flat, but also the seam, the side seam is matching up where I made the marking for the side seam. So now we have the basting stitch lined up with the basting stitch on the skirt lined up with the basting stitch on the corset. Okay, so to clarify, that's not a basting stitch on the skirt. That's a stay stitch, which I've put, and that is a basting stitch in the corset. Okay. I'm just adding extra pins between the center front and the side seam. Once I get closer to the edge of the corset, I'm not going to pin it all the way to the very end. I'm going to stop right at that last panel and put one final pin in it. Then I'll go back and add additional pins to make sure that it is secure. I'll also do this on the other side of the skirt, matching that side seam on the skirt with the side seam on the corset. And then I will add pins all the way to the last panel of the corset. So we've reached the edge, and I want to make sure that the excess fabric is even on both sides. And as you can see, they are. So now I know that the fabric is even. If I were to fold the skirt up together, there wouldn't be extra fabric on the left and short on the right. You just want to make sure that it's completely even. Double check your work. Follow the stitch line on your skirt and run it across the corset and skirt together. I do go over my boning twice. Once completed, pull the stitch out if you had one in there. If not, you can do what's needed to wipe off the chalk or whatever marker pen you've used. Put the skirt and corset back onto the mannequin. I did not tie the mannequin back up in this video, but I have added the dress onto the mannequin, and you can see what the final results are. So here we have it. It's attached to the skirt. Clean line, 1/2 inch seam allowance. And there you have it. You've attached a corset to the skirt, or a pre-made corset to the skirt. This is how I do it. It works out for me and my clients. I really hope that this video has helped at least one person. If you have any questions about any of the steps I've provided, just feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help.